Cobra Kai never die. Strike first, strike hard, no mercy. Those things don't matter here. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and this is Karate Kid Legends, which in its infinite wisdom has absolutely nothing to do with Cobra Kai, the entire reason this film exists. Because let's be honest, without Cobra Kai, nobody was talking about Karate Kid. Nobody really would have returned Ralph Macchio to the franchise naturally. Otherwise, there wasn't really a base for this. We already tried the reboot with Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith, which Jackie Chan is still in this. And actually, that movie made quite a bit of money at the box office, and they still didn't make a sequel to it, which I always thought was kind of weird, because technically that movie was a hit for all intents and purposes. But now we have Karate Kid Legends to make up for that, because Jackie Chan's back, Ralph Macchio's back, neither of them need to be in this movie. And this movie has absolutely nothing to do with anything that you've seen previously ever before in your entire life. So this movie does have audio description. It's done by Pixelogic Media, and Laura Post is the narrator. I want to make sure I got Pixelogic out because Laura Post works so much with Deluxe that I was like, Pixelogic? What? Yeah, somehow Pixelogic got on this movie. But I mean, good. It's got its audio description is fine. I don't have a problem with it. The movie I do. The problem is, so I always wear my bias on my sleeve. I'm a very nostalgic person. Like, it's pretty easy to get me and pull me in. One of the reasons probably why I love Cobra Kai is because it's nostalgia bait. Like, you just inherently like it. Its characters, it's a great legacy series for the franchise. Like, it brings people back. You can debate about how long it needed to run or whatever, but there's a lot that happened within Cobra Kai that has sort of reinvigorated the talk around the Karate Kid franchise. Supposedly, the Netflix has a deal with the guys that worked on Cobra Kai to continue to make series in that universe. We'll see. But somebody allowed them to make Karate Kid Legends. So this is about a kid named Lee who lives over in China, who finds out he's training with Jackie Chan, and who I think is his uncle. I think is his uncle. I'm not really sure. We don't really have time for that. So his mom, played by Mulan, is Ming-Na, the original Mulan, gets a job in New York to be a doctor, and so they're moving. And they've suffered a tragedy, a loss, which they'll cover eventually. They'll give you a flashback to it. But basically, Lee had an older brother who was also into Kung Fu, and which is what Chan teaches, specifically Kung Fu, not karate, Kung Fu. So Lee's brother died. So she's like, I can't have this fighting taking another one of my sons. So she moves him to New York because there's no fighting in New York. And then they move to New York, and he starts at a new school. Pretty quickly, they find, like, he walks past the dojo. It's like Domination something dojo. I don't know, Demolition dojo. They really underdeveloped this dojo. Basically, there's one kid there, Connor, and his sensei is so barely used in this movie. I don't know. It's some vaguely Irish, Scottish heritage guy who speaks a couple, has a couple lines. He's compared to like Johnny Lawrence or any other possible antagonist in the franchise. He's got to be the least developed in the entire franchise. the whole series, everything, all the movies, including X Karate Kid, which I can't even remember. I'm just going out on a limb here and saying he's underdeveloped more than any villain that they had in that series. So Connor is a little bit more developed as a villain, but not really. So Lee he goes into this pizza shop where he meets this Mia, whose dad, played by Joshua Jackson, owns the pizza shop, and they kind of hit it off, but they just become friends, and Lee starts helping her with things, but this pisses off Connor because he thinks his ex-girlfriend is now finding somebody else, so he just keeps sort of like racistly calling him Beijing all the time. Hey, Beijing. Beijing. Because Lee is so hard to remember. So, so Connor's a racist. We've gone that route. And Lee actually, the movie doesn't really know what to do about like how to handle ethnicity and like people from other countries and stuff like that. There was a scene where I legitimately cringed because Lee, with the girl that he likes, she turns around to him and she's like, "How come your English is so good?" And I was like, "Girl." Please. Oh my God. Anyway, so yeah, of course they're gonna fall in love because there's nothing else to do in this fucking movie. So it turns out Dad was a boxer. Joshua Jackson was a boxer. And he's also in debt to I don't know, O'Shea, or was it O'Shea? Is that his name? I don't know. He's so underdeveloped. The guy that runs the dojo, he owes some money to him. And there's some guys that come by to beat him up one time, but Lee's there to kind of help fight. Lee fights Connor the first time and like loses epically. Like really bad. Like Connor just wipes the floor with him, which is really sad, but whatever. But then Lee is able to fight grown-ass adults whose job it is to beat up people for a living, like thugs, you know? So then her dad, whose name I forgot, Joshua Jackson, Charlie, from the Mighty Ducks or whatever other franchise you become attached to Joshua Jackson from, The Affair maybe, I don't know, Dr. Odyssey, whatever you want to call him. He wants Lee to, well, he doesn't really want Lee. They come to an agreement where Lee's going to train him so that he can box again, so that he can get himself out of this debt and not be attacked by random strangers all the time. So Lee starts to train him. His mom's upset because she wants him to study with school. He has this tutor that's also a friend who, because they need like another character in the movie that's not an ass, I guess, like Adam or something like that. He has a tutor friend anyway. This nerd becomes his friend. And they train up Joshua Jackson to fight. It doesn't quite go as well as expected, even though Joshua Jackson is, working his butt off. He doesn't quite win the fight. So then, while he's lying in the hospital, Lee's like, well, we have to get your family out of debt somehow, So, he had been calling I'm going to keep going with Uncle, with Jackie Chan. He'd been calling him and talking to him this whole time, and finally, just out of nowhere, Jackie Chan shows up, and he's like, when a friend is in need, we help. Something like that. He has some weird sage advice. So Jackie Chan's going to help, and he's going to train Lee to fight in this competition, this 5 boroughs battle. I love when Connor also, because I think they assume most of the people who watch this movie won't live in New York City. So they're like, there's a scene too when like Lee and Connor are fighting at school, but it gets stopped obviously because it's at school. And Connor's like, you want a real fight? Find me in the 5 boroughs when nobody will be able to stop you. I was like, that's a lot of street, dude. The 5, you can't even pick one borough. Find me in the 5 boroughs. He's just like, I don't know, somewhere out there. Can you be more specific? Do you have a borough that you usually hang out in? Just, anyway, so there's the battle of the 5 boroughs. It's on a rooftop too, which is like, they keep going on rooftops for things, which I'm like, this has got to be the worst decision. Accidentally kick the kid off the side of a building. So yeah, they use the nerd's rooftop, Adam. He has like a rooftop that he's turned into. I guess no one cares at that apartment building or wherever he lives. Into like this sort of like Zen garden thing. And they turn it into his studio to fight in. And so how Ralph Macchio gets pulled into this is Chan is working on training Lee. They don't have a lot of time before the competition. And he's like, I have to go talk to somebody. So he goes to talk to Ralph Macchio. Now, if you watch Cobra Kai, you'll note that Ralph lives in Los Angeles. That's where that whole franchise takes place in, right? That the Miyagi-Do and everything was in Southern California. So, not Los Angeles, but area. So Jackie Chan just like makes it look like hopping on a plane to LA is like easy breezy. And just suddenly in the next scene, he's at Miyagi-Do, which is not called Miyagi-Do because Cobra Kai, they didn't necessarily say it didn't happen. There's even a joke about Miyagi-Do. I'll get to that. So, I mean, they didn't completely retcon. It's not like Daniel has a scene where he goes, man, I wish I had a wife and kids. You know? Oh, God. I haven't seen Johnny Lawrence in years. You know, nothing like that. It's just there's no one around, and he doesn't mention anybody. So Chan shows up, and I forgot his name, Han, I think. And they talk, and Han's like, if Miyagi always told me if I ever needed any help to come here. And Daniel's like, well, he's dead. So and he's like, no, he meant you. I need your help. Come teach. So there's a back and forth. It's stupid. And eventually, of course, Ralph Macchio flies out to New York to help co-train. Because I don't really know why. Because the film wants him here. It's really thin. So they train him. There's a scene where they like for comedy effect, they keep like dropping Lee. Like they keep finding new ways of essentially like kicking his ass and dropping him to the ground in like a repetitive sequence. They're like, no, this way's better. And I'm like, it's a kid, guys. And he's supposed to fight. And this is a rooftop, not a dojo. I don't know what the padding situation is. I think you're just dropping him to concrete every single time. And like, isn't this funny? Look at adults beating up on a kid. We're amazing. We're good people. So eventually, you know, the drama is that the mom is not accepting of this whole thing. Plus, Mia used to date the ex, and so Lee is developing feelings for Mia, but he sees Mia like hang out with her ex, but he misreads the situation, and it's drama. Anyway, and his studies. There's some jokes. There's some clever jokes. There's one where Mia's trying to get him to go out and hang. And he's like, I can't because I gotta study. and Adam, I think that's his name, the nerd tutor, is, you know, he looks at what the kid's writing in calculus. He's like, oh man, you're killing calc. And then when Mia walks away, Lee's like, am I? He's like, no, it's all wrong. I just wanted to help you out. It's like, I was like, okay. I mean, some of that is funny and it's cute and it's clever, but a lot of these characters are just really underdeveloped, and there's so much happening here, and the movie is so short. I think the movie's like an hour and a half. It certainly felt like it was zipping by. I didn't feel like I was ever spending too much time in the movie, but I did feel like we just kept throwing things into the movie that weren't resolving, or that were moving too quickly, were not paced well. They introduced so there are ways to solve the movie. I told you a lot of the movie, but I'm not gonna tell you how the movie ends. There's a battle. You'll figure it out. So I remember when I first heard about this movie, and I was really excited that they were making a Karate Kid movie for theaters. And then I lived in that wonderful world for a while until I found out that movie was going to have nothing to do with Cobra Kai at all. And I was like, what the fuck is your problem? What on earth is your problem? Do you not understand the only reason Karate Kid Legends exists is because Cobra Kai has caused there to be an interest in it again? It's the only reason it exists. It's the only reason you got a green light. The fuck you doing? So the fact that they can't even acknowledge it, the fact that they can't figure out how to work Cobra Kai in at all, is bizarre. It's just utterly bizarre. And there's a joke about this Miyagi-Do thing because Joshua Jackson owns a pizza store, and he's talking to Ralph about, you know, coming up with like a name for, I don't know, like the pizza, like another pizza place or something. He's like, what about Miyagi-Do? Get it? Because of pizza. And he's like, no, that's disrespectful to Miyagi. It's Mr. Miyagi. So I mean, the thing is, Cobra Kai is the reason this exists. Not because if they wanted to make a sequel to Jackie Chan's version, they would have done it by now. So this is not that. This is not the long-awaited sequel, even though Chan is in far more of the movie than Ralph Macchio is. Even though Chan is also still not the lead of the movie. It's, you know, Daniel has 2 kids and a wife. Bare minimum, that's what you have. And even if you don't go into the Cobra Kai stuff, and even if you don't bring Johnny in, there's no reason that you couldn't have shown him talking to his wife, who's the same character, about needing to go out. Like, it's the little things. It's acknowledging the presence and the existence of the thing, the whole reason why you're fucking here. And that's why I'm giving this thing a rotten score. I just hate the fucking movie. Just to be totally honest. Like, this movie was pissing me off, like, its entire existence. I wanted it. I was like, okay, so if you think you're smarter than everyone else, then blow me away. And I wasn't blown away. I was given a movie that felt rushed, that felt half-assed, that felt like a cash grab. It didn't feel like it was organically anything else. It felt like it wanted to lean on the past to try to get your ass in the theater, but then it didn't really actually want to use the past. Like, Chan never talks about having trained Jaden at all. Like, at all. It's like the whole movie that created Jackie Chan's character didn't happen. And now he's just Han, the guy who trained Lee, maybe somebody else, and he knows Mr. Miyagi. His whole backstory has been completely diminished into almost oblivion for this movie. And then Daniel is just basically the guy they fly across the country and be like, I'm Daniel and I'm standing in Miyagi-Do. Isn't this enough for you? You know, like, this is his house. So, yeah, the fact that he couldn't have talked to Amanda, or the fact that they couldn't have written a movie where Daniel would have needed where the Karate Kid Legends would have been either one of his kids, is bizarre. It's just absolutely bizarre, because he has 2 kids and they both use karate. in Cobra Kai. They even kind of set up Samantha on a path that would have made sense because she's off to like Japan or something at the end of Cobra Kai for her schooling, I think. So, I mean, like, there's even a story there at the end of Cobra Kai that feels very optimistically like, well, this could have been Cobra Kai Legends. No, Karate Kid Legends. Nope. No, this is their infinite wisdom. Okay, so let's take your movie at face value. What did you have? You actually kind of had an interesting idea, but then you threw it in the back and said, fuck it. And then you beat it to death. You took out a lead pipe and you just beat the whole thing to death. So the cool thing about this movie that they do a little bit with, but not enough, and then they abandon it completely, is the idea that Lee, who's not necessarily a master or anything, but has been trained, is now training Joshua Jackson, not for karate purposes, but for boxing purposes. He sort of is giving him, helping this guy regain his status as a boxer. And Joshua Jackson is a big enough name that in a film that is sort of controlled by teens anyway, I'm going to argue that they never needed Ralph Macchio or Jackie Chan. It's the presence of them and the fact that they wanted to lean on their names without leaning on Cobra Kai that pisses me off. If you want to do like kind of like a reboot or some sort of like side thing where it's not tied directly to the series, but it's sort of its own story that takes place within, sort of like a Tokyo Drift type of thing, right? Where it's a story and it has Karate Kid thing, then I think that might have worked, but you can't have it both ways. You can't be trying to pull in the nostalgic value, but then also ignoring the entire reason why your nostalgic value even works. So I was just angry the whole movie. I was like, especially when you get to Ralph Macchio finally getting pulled into the movie, you're like, he doesn't even need to be here. There's no purpose for him. He doesn't know any of these people. There's no, I mean, he's sort of from, I believe he's from like Jersey originally I think that was his original story. So he's kind of from the area. You could have bothered to show him fly back for his mom. So fucking something, man. Instead, he's just like the guy that flies across country because a guy he's never met asks him to. For a kid he's never met. For a competition he has no stake in. Like, what is happening in this movie? So the better movie was the story between Lee and Joshua Jackson and training him to be a boxer. And instead of allowing him to just immediately be hospitalized, yeah, maybe he loses the first fight, but then he comes back stronger. And that's what Lee does, is he trains him. And then Joshua Jackson pays off his own debt. And then he goes about and Joshua Jackson watches Lee and his daughter hang out. And there's some, struggling with like the guy who's training. This kid who's training me is also clearly into my daughter. How do I feel about that? Oh, well, seems like a good kid. Welcome him into the family. Like, there's a whole fucking story here that actually would have worked as a movie, but they don't have enough confidence in it. So they got to make sure that Lee's the one that shows up at the end in the tournament. Why? What for? It's so bizarre. I hate the person who wrote this. Like, all the people who wrote this, I hate you. Like, I aggressively hate you because even if you were told you must write a Karate Kid movie, this is not remotely the best Karate Kid movie you even had on the table at the time. And the fact that you couldn't see that you can't see the forest through the trees is just mind-boggling. So, no, I did not like Karate Kid Legends. There's part of me that wants to go, oh, well, it's got some people in it that I like. And it feels like Karate Kid. And then you just, that's that nostalgic optimism that rises in you, that you goes, oh, I love everything Karate Kid. But why do I? Because of Cobra Kai. truly, I didn't really give a shit about the franchise that much until Cobra Kai. Like, I liked Karate Kid, but I wasn't like obsessed with it. I wasn't running around going like Cobra Kai never die before there was a Cobra Kai series. Jackie Chan's movie did. I was like, all right, that was fine, whatever. You know, that's kind of how I felt about Karate Kid. I wasn't passionate about it. I became passionate about the franchise because Cobra Kai like reinvigorated the franchise. And that's the whole reason we have the sequel, but you don't want to acknowledge it. You want to sidestep it in large quantity. The whole thing, there isn't even like a slight acknowledgement. There isn't even really an acknowledgement of the original Karate Kid movies. Like, he does have a mom. She was in Cobra Kai. And I think she does live out in on the East Coast, I think in like Jersey or something. So he could have had a scene where he stops by to see his mom as part of like the reasoning for him going. Otherwise, it's just so weird to shoehorn Daniel into this story. It's like he could have legitimately, Han could have just as easily gone and gotten help from Jaden, you know, from his character. And we could have learned what happened to Jaden all these years after the first one, how he became a champion, and now Jaden comes in for some sage advice. Would have made way more sense for Han to get advice from his previous student and been like, I think Lee will listen to you, where he doesn't listen to me. You know, no, nothing. So Karate Kid Legends is just whatever the fuck it is. I don't know. It doesn't deserve to be loved. It doesn't deserve your love. It doesn't do anything to warrant it. It's a bunch of ideas that are thrown together to try to make you feel like it resembles things that you've liked in the past. But if anything, it should anger you in the way that, like, yeah, but those things in the past that you're leaning on, you're barely using them here. But yet you want that to be the reason why we're here. You know, you want to bring in the people for nostalgia purposes, but you're barely using the nostalgia to begin with. So, again, why are we here? This is not Creed. This is not what as well written as Creed is. You know, Stallone is not organically here, and there's not like this emotional reunion or narrative for them. Sometimes this concept has been done where it passes it off to the next generation and does it really well. Arguably, Cobra Kai does that, where it both brings back the original characters but also passes it off to the new generation of kids. There are things that do that well. This does not. This uses Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio basically for recognition purposes and then goes on its own path. So I'm going to give Karate Kid Legends a 4.9 out of 10. I mean, yes, I've seen worse this year. I'm angry at the movie and its existence, but it's not War of the Worlds. It's not Medea's Destination Wedding. It's not Hurry Up Tomorrow. I mean, there are definitely worse choices you can make this year. So, yeah, at 4.9 out of 10 is still rotten, though. I like the kid who plays Lee. In general, I like the cast, except Ming-Na, who doesn't feel like she's the mom at all. She just feels like she was offered a movie role and she showed up for it. She's not really that emotionally involved in the movie. And I like Ming-Na as an actress. I also clocked the return of her to the medical profession. I thought that was clever because she was on ER. But even the use of Ming-Na Wen in a film with, you know, karate, kung fu, whatever, is clever since she was the original voice of Mulan. So, but she just doesn't even seem invested in this movie at all. She doesn't feel like she's Lee's mother. She doesn't feel like she actually lost a son. There's nothing about her that feels right in this movie. Chan's acting is not great. They don't give him much to do, but he's not nearly as funny as he has been in the past. I know he's getting up there in age, but it didn't feel like it was either dramatically wiser, like he's grown a lot as an actor, or that it was funnier. It just felt kind of like he's here for a paycheck, as is Ralph Macchio. They're here for a paycheck. Like it just felt like people were cashing, but the kids are all taking advantage of it. Joshua Jackson was fine. Um, he I think he seemed the most happy to be in a Karate Kid movie of the adults. But yeah, it's basically the kids are the reason you'd watch this. So it's like sort of like a Cobra Kai thing where the kids are well cast. So I won't take anything away from them. But otherwise, I can't recommend this. Sorry. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you guys on the other side.